am back with another spooky story, and this one is a submission from Trinidad.
I hear about Diablesse, eh? You're not frightened yet? Alright, I can tell you.
I see you, Diablesse.
What is wrong with me? 'Cause why did that sound so cool to me? Like,
Yeah.
if I had a goat foot, I too would seduce men and trick them with my
In all of these stories, you hear about how women are the temptresses. Very
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and all day. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just.
We are back with another Trini Paranormal, Trini Scary Story, Trini Folklore for you today. And this is Obiaween. This is the month of Obiaween. And if you don't know what Obiaween is, we in Trinidad, we're not celebrating Halloween, we're celebrating Obiaween because that's our version of Halloween. And today, we are going to talk about the Diablesse. So this is your Diablesse, and let's talk about the elements of the Diablesse. She's known as a tall, dark, beautiful woman, and she wears a French Antillean or a French Caribbean sort of outfit, very traditional back in the days of colonialism. And despite being beautiful and well dressed, she has one particular flaw, and it's the hoof feet. So the origins of the Diablesse goes back to colonial days with French and West African origins. And it was said that the enslaved African woman would make a deal with the devil, and in exchange for selling her soul to him, she would gain beauty. So the Diablesse is known as a devil woman on one hand, and then sometimes people don't necessarily consider her a bad thing, but let's talk about that. So the Diablesse is said to be, as I said before, very beautiful, very eloquently dressed. As you know, if you see her today, she looks like she's from a different world, but her beauty is striking. My phone is randomly cut off by itself, but she is known for her beauty and her elegance, and she generally bewitches any man that sees her, and she evokes that feelings of lust and temptation when she is spotted. So long ago, when men would ride bikes, or they would be walking home from the plantations, probably from liming, from drinking, she would be at the side of the road, and she would generally hold a conversation with these men, and they would never notice the hoof feet. What she would do is that she would lure them into the forest. They would follow her because they are tempted, and they are filled with lust and alcohol in their brain. And she would lead them into the forest and then disappear. And they would just be disoriented and lost, and they would either die of hunger or dehydration or not finding their way back home. So in that regard, she was known for being evil and tempting, and she would always lure men into their death. On the other hand, she was always said to be a lesson for men who would often cheat on their wives, would often abuse their wives when they go and drink alcohol and come back home and they abuse their wife or ill-treat their wife. She was known to tempt these type of men in particular and lead them to their death. So a lot of people don't necessarily consider her evil because she's often teaching these men a lesson. So the Diablesse was not only known back in the days of slavery and indentureship, but she was also a menace to society, so to speak, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s and early 2000s, and probably even today as well. Oftentimes, men who were driving their vehicles would see this beautiful woman standing on the side of the road, and they would often stop to pick her up because they're wondering why this beautiful woman is here by the roadside. So back in the days when either men were walking or they were on their bikes, or if it was that they were in their cars, one of the easiest ways to get rid of a Diablesse would be to strike a match. And a lot of the times these men would smoke cigarettes. So what they would do is that when they strike the match, oftentimes the smell of the sulfur or the fire and smoke, she would often just instantly disappear, and they would hear a woman's voice cackling saying, "Haha, you got away this time, but the next time you will not." As scary as she is, I'm wondering if she is still around. So any Trinis, have you all ever had an experience with a Diablesse recently, the past few years or some years back? I would love to know. As a matter of fact, I think the whole of Trinidad and Tobago would like to know this Obiawin season, if any of you would have ever experienced picking up a Diablesse.
Goatfoot woman or the cowfoot woman. Like, she's called different things. Why do all of us have that shared belief in this one woman?
It seems like goatfoot woman, cowfoot woman is a derivative of La Diablesse, who is a very similar creature across the Caribbean. In their lore, believe that she was like a beautiful woman and a temptress, and she would purposefully seek out men so that way she could kill them. DJ's like, oh, okay.
DJ's like,
I see you, La Diablesse.
What is wrong with me? 'Cause why did that sound so cool to me? Like,
Yeah.
if I had a goat foot, I too would seduce men and trick them with my
In all of these stories, you hear about how women are the temptresses, very similar to that Adam and Eve story. So when I think about like cowfoot woman, I do have a level of like compassion for her and the way that we've vilified her, and you know, like the way that we speak about her, the way that we speak about women. Like when they talk about La Diablesse specifically focuses on men who cheat on their women. And so if your man cannot be stolen, then he's safe from La Diablesse. But, you know, like nobody goes into that side of the storytelling, the part where she's actually a girl's girl and she's killing man out here who may be following her into the bush to, you know, sexually assault her. It could be really powerful, but when we only tell the little nuggets, it continues to do what I think was intended, which is to vilify the feminine.
Wanna hear about a Diablesse, eh? You not frightened yet? Alright, I can tell you. The Diablesse born as a woman, but she make a deal with the devil. She wants to stay young forever. So the Diablesse now get one foot and one hoof, a cow hoof. She's wear a long dress for hide the cow hoof. And she's walk down the road with one foot in the road and the hoof in the grass on the side of the road. And she's wear a hat with a long brim for hide she face. If she find a man now, she got cast a spell punny and carry inside the forest. And once you're there inside the forest, you're done. If you want to escape the Diablesse now, you got to take off all your clothes, turn them inside out, put them back on, and walk home backward. So one next night now, me been left the rum shop, and me see one lady with a long dress and a big hat. The lady been sing one song, and me feel hypnotized like. But when me get close to this lady, me see the hoof. Me say, oh, Ras, by is a Diablesse, hey. So me had to take off my clothes, turn them inside out, and walk home backward. So if you ever walking on the road and you see a lady in a long dress and a big hat, turn your tail and run.
Spain, so town. So as he's driving, he starts telling Waves about his experience in that particular area. So the driver and a friend went to the waterfall, which is the entry street just one street away from where Waves was going. Now, there's a bit of a hike to get there, and it's very forested, like very tall trees. So most people know that when you go there, you don't have a guide. So it's best that you leave before 4 p.m. Before 4 p.m., you better be back on that main road. So the driver and his best friend, they went up, they got snacks, drinks, and some herbs to smoke. They got there around 12 p.m. They bathed, they enjoyed the beautiful vibes that there's usually a lot of people there. They had a smoke, they were so chilled, they fell asleep. When they woke up, it's almost 5 p.m. and of course, the place is getting dark. So afraid that they might get lost on the way out, they hurried to get out. Now, at that time, the forest itself already looked like it was 7 p.m. It was that dark. Now, here's where it got strange. As they were trying to make their way out, they heard a baby crying. And the more they walked, the louder the cries got. So thinking that someone must have abandoned a baby in the woods, they followed the cry until eventually it led them to a tree. And lo and behold, there was a baby wrapped up. Seemed to be a newborn. And of course they decided to pick the baby up and take it with them. The driver took his friend's stuff and his friend picked up the baby and they started walking again. Now the driver starts to notice that his friend is breathing very heavy. So he looks over and he's like, okay, maybe he needs help. So his friend said, insert Trini accent, "This baby getting heavy, boy. This baby's getting heavy, boy." So they decided to switch. As he's trying to take the baby from his friend, the baby just starts hysterically crying. Real loud, almost like this baby is screaming. The driver got agitated a bit, so they just keep the baby. While his friend had the baby, fair enough, the child was quiet. As they started walking again, his friend started struggling again. He was huffing and puffing as if he was carrying a ton. So again, the driver offered to take the baby. This time when he was about to take the baby, he noticed that the baby's legs were longer, but he still tried to take the baby. This time though, the baby had its arm around the friend's neck like an older child. The baby held on and would not let go of his friend. Suddenly, bear with me now. Suddenly, the baby's head turned and looked at him and said in a deep voice, "If all y'all know is good for all y'all, you will put me back where you find me." I ate that? No. The eyes of this thing had no white, it was just dark. But somehow the eyes were still glowing. And of course, the driver and his friend were almost ready to release everything they ate and drank that day. Now the friend is trying to get the baby off of him, but the baby just won't let go. Scared out of their minds, they said that, you know what, we have to go back. They somehow managed to find the tree to put the thing back, which was now a baby again, and they let it go. They somehow managed to find the tree to put the thing back, which was now a baby again, and it let go. Now Wave said, now most people know when you meet a zombie, you never turn your back till you clear out of its sight. They walked backwards, not sure if they were lost, but they got to the road clearing and took off. And the driver said that for weeks he couldn't sleep. And a friend of his told him that he had something on him. They took him to a spiritual lady, aka an Obia woman. She said that she couldn't even allow him to enter her house, for there was something on him in which he had to do several cleansing at sea for a certain amount of time. She also told the driver that he cannot help his friend, nor should he even be around him, or he too will suffer the same fate. About 2 months after, his friend was still having difficulties with sleeping, eating, etc. The driver said it broke his heart to have to tell his friend that he can't be around him anymore. His friend was in such a state that he ended up in a mental institution. Till this day, the friend still hears the baby crying. They were about 18 when this happened. They are now in their 40s. When the driver got closer to where Waves lives, he started cold sweating. He was so terrified that when he dropped her off, he drove off at high speed. That was a good submission. If you have a spooky story that you would like to tell, feel free to DM them to me either on Instagram or message me right here on TikTok. Just go straight out the gate, submit the story. Don't ask, can I submit? Yes, you can. Just submit the stories. And if you have not already, make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have long form spooky stories. Anyway, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
Alright, so in Trinidad and Tobago, we have one set of folklore that stems from West African and French roots. So for our first folklore I want to talk about today, and it's actually one of my favorite ones, is La Diablesse. So simply in French, La Diablesse means female devil, and as you can see, she's usually a beautiful woman wearing long dresses or long skirts and clothes. Sometimes she's wearing a big hat because in other stories they say she's not that pretty, so she needs to wear the hat to cover her face. But for the most part, she's very attractive and sensual, especially to men. The one thing that makes her different from a mere mortal that you should usually be able to tell is the cow foot, but that's why she have only long skirt and a long dress, so you don't see the cow foot. The story goes that she typically only comes out when the moon is the only light you can see in the sky, and then she tends to go on these kind of sketchy roads to see if any men will come and pick her up. So she'll flag them down, try to see where she can get a drop, and then she will usually lead them to their plight in the end of the night. If you're trying to get rid of her...
Some people said that she was a she-devil, a jumbie, with a disfigured foot that resembles a hoof. Others said she was a witch roaming the highways alone, waiting to cast her vengeful spells on unsuspecting men. Everyone said to watch out, beware, and be on your guard for strangers in your village. The story goes that on one typically blazing hot day, people were stretched out on their verandas, sighing in the shade, watching nothing. Imagine a day so hot that even the air is languid, where each